The morning sun cast long shadows across the United Nations Plaza in New York as the world held its breath. Today would mark humanity's first official contact with alien life. The massive view screens around the plaza showed similar gatherings in London, Tokyo, Mumbai, and dozens of other cities worldwide. Tom Reed, the chosen human ambassador, stood tall and straight in his perfectly pressed blue suit. At 6 feet 2 inches, he was slightly above average height for a human male. The diplomatic team around him fidgeted nervously, checking and rechecking their translation devices. The alien ship appeared silently above the city, its silver surface reflecting the morning light. It was smaller than expected, roughly the size of a passenger jet. As it descended to the designated landing area, the crowd's murmuring grew louder. "Something's not right," whispered Maria, Tom's assistant. "The ship's proportions seem off." The landing ramp extended from the ship with a soft hiss. The assembled crowd leaned forward, cameras ready. What emerged first wasn't the tall, imposing figures many had imagined. Instead, 3 beings walked out, each barely reaching Tom's waist. The lead alien, dressed in shimmering robes that seemed to change color with each movement, stopped abruptly. Its large, expressive eyes widened as it looked up and up at the human delegation. The translator on Tom's collar crackled to life, catching what sounded like a gasp. "Most gracious," the alien's translated voice faltered. "There must be some mistake. You are enormous." Tom fought to keep his diplomatic composure. The alien delegation, representing the Stellar Alliance, consisted of beings that stood approximately 3 feet tall. Their delicate features and graceful movements suggested they came from a world with lower gravity than Earth. "Welcome to Earth," Tom said, carefully lowering himself to one knee to be closer to their eye level. "I am Ambassador Tom Reed, representing humanity." The lead alien, who introduced itself as first speaker, seemed to gather its courage. We had no idea. All our data suggested Earth was a standard gravity world. But your species, is there a problem?" Tom asked gently. "In all our exploration of the galaxy," first speaker said, "we have never encountered a sentient species larger than 1.2 meters. Most evolved from small, resourceful creatures that could survive the harsh conditions of early planetary development. You are an anomaly." The news crews captured every moment as the human and alien delegations tried to navigate this unexpected situation. The simple act of shaking hands became a careful choreography, with the aliens having to reach up while Tom bent down. Inside the conference room, more challenges became apparent. The alien delegation needed help climbing onto the human-sized chairs. Their data tablets, designed for their smaller hands, looked like toys in human grasp. "Our species has explored thousands of worlds," first speaker explained, now seated on a hastily arranged booster seat. "We found that smaller, more efficient body types dominated successful evolution. Your size should have made technological development nearly impossible." Tom smiled warmly. "Yet here we are. Perhaps this is a lesson for all of us about making assumptions about life's potential." As the day progressed, the initial awkwardness began to fade. The aliens' fear of the human size was gradually replaced by fascination. They were particularly amazed by human architecture and engineering, built on a scale they had never considered practical. By sunset, as the first diplomatic meetings concluded, both sides had learned valuable lessons. The humans discovered they were, quite literally, the giants of known space. The aliens learned that their understanding of universal evolution needed serious revision. That evening, as Tom prepared his initial report, he couldn't help but smile. Humanity had worried about being technologically inferior to alien visitors. Instead, they found themselves dealing with a much different situation, being the big siblings of the galactic community. "Send a message to all our manufacturing centers," he told Maria. "We're going to need to design a lot of smaller chairs." The human delegation stood in the docking bay of their transport ship, staring at the Alliance space station through the viewing window. Despite being the Alliance's primary diplomatic hub, the station looked surprisingly small to human eyes. "Remember," Tom said to his team, "watch your heads and move carefully. We're guests in their house now." The airlock cycled, and the humans entered the station for the first time. The corridors were a tight fit, forcing them to walk single file and duck under doorways. The ceiling, designed for beings half their size, barely reached their chest height. Mark, the team's engineer, ran his hand along the curved wall. "The construction is amazing. Everything's built to perfect scale for their size. It's like we're walking through a masterfully crafted dollhouse." Their guide, an Alliance officer named Swiftwing, led them to the diplomatic quarters. The human team had to suppress their amusement at the furniture. Chairs looked like children's seats, and the tables reached just above their knees. "We've attempted to modify some quarters for your comfort," Swiftwing said, gesturing to a hastily renovated section, "though I fear they may still be inadequate." The modifications were well-intentioned but awkward. Bed frames had been welded together to make longer ones, and chairs had been stacked and reinforced to handle human weight. The ceiling panels had been removed to provide more headroom, exposing the station's infrastructure. During the first diplomatic session, Alliance scientists shared their findings about species evolution across the galaxy. The presentation room's holographic display showed various intelligent species, none taller than 4 feet. "You see," explained the Alliance's chief scientist, "most successful spacefaring species evolved from small creatures that could hide from predators and survive on limited resources. Your evolution from larger mammals is unprecedented." The human scientists shared their own data about Earth's evolutionary history. The Alliance members were fascinated by the story of human development, particularly how larger brains and upright walking had led to tool use and civilization. "But surely your size must be a disadvantage," one Alliance member commented. "The energy requirements alone." "Actually," Mark interjected, "our size gave us certain advantages. We could travel longer distances, carry more, and eventually build larger tools. Our bodies are quite efficient for our size." The real challenges became apparent during the station tour. The humans discovered that everything in Alliance space was built to their scale, from door controls to computer interfaces. Even their spacecraft were designed for beings half the size of humans. "This could be a problem," Tom noted as they examined the Alliance's standard shuttlecraft. "How can we integrate our technologies if everything's built to such different scales?" But where some saw problems, others saw opportunities. The Alliance engineering team was particularly interested in human spacecraft designs. The larger scale meant more room for advanced systems, better shielding, and larger cargo capacity. "Perhaps," Swiftwing suggested, "this is why we never achieved certain technological breakthroughs. We always thought smaller was better, more efficient. But some things simply need more space." By the end of the day, both sides were deep in discussion about creating new standards that could accommodate both scales. The humans proposed modular designs that could be adapted for different sizes, while the Alliance offered their expertise in miniaturization. As Tom prepared for sleep that night, cramped in his modified quarters, he wrote in his log, "What seemed like our greatest obstacle might be our greatest gift to the galaxy. Sometimes, being too big to fit in just means you have to build something new." Outside his window, the stars twinkled against the void. Somewhere out there, humanity's future awaited. A future where being the giants of the universe might just save it. Emergency alarms blared through the Alliance station, their high-pitched tones making the human delegation wince. Tom rushed to the command center, ducking through the small doorways that still felt awkward even after 2 weeks on station. The command center was in chaos. Dozens of small Alliance officers hurried between workstations, their voices sharp with worry. The main screen showed a star map with red warning markers spreading across one sector. "They came without warning," Swiftwing reported, looking up at Tom. "The swarm attacked 3 outer colonies simultaneously. Our defense fleet." The officer paused, mandibles clicking in distress. "They were overwhelmed in minutes." The tactical display told the story. The Alliance's ships, built for beings half the size of humans, carried correspondingly smaller weapons. Their beam weapons lacked power, and their missiles were too tiny to carry significant warheads. "Show me the enemy ships," Tom requested. The display changed, revealing dark, angular vessels that dwarfed the Alliance craft. "They're almost human-sized," he muttered. Mark, who had followed Tom to the command center, studied the tactical data. "Their ships aren't actually that well designed," he observed. "They're just bigger. They're winning through brute force." "The swarm evolved on a high-gravity world," Swiftwing explained. "We've never encountered them before. They're not quite as large as humans, but much bigger than us. Our weapons barely scratch their hull plating." More reports flooded in. The swarm's ships were advancing methodically, their larger weapons destroying Alliance defenses with ease. The smaller Alliance vessels, despite their superior maneuverability, couldn't deliver enough firepower to stop them. Tom watched the desperate battle unfold, his mind racing. He thought about the human ships back home, built to human scale, about weapons designed for Earth's gravity and human hands, about engines and armor made to protect beings twice the size of the Alliance species. "First speaker," Tom called out, "I need to make an emergency call to Earth." The next few hours were a blur of diplomatic channels and military discussions. Tom explained the situation to the United Earth Defense Council, showing them the battle data. The Council immediately grasped the implications. "Our ships," Tom argued to both human and Alliance leadership, "are built to our scale. They carry weapons designed for our size. We can match these swarm ships 1-to-1. The Alliance Council chamber erupted in debate. Some feared allowing human warships into Alliance space would only replace one threat with another. Others argued they had no choice. "Look at the numbers," Mark presented his analysis. "Your ships are masterpieces of engineering, but they're too small to carry the power plants needed for heavy combat. It's simple physics. Sometimes size matters." First speaker stood quietly for a long moment, looking at the battle displays showing more Alliance worlds under attack. When they spoke, their voice was firm despite their small stature. "We accept Earth's offer of assistance," they announced. "Better to trust in the giants who speak of peace than fall to the giants who bring only war." Tom immediately began coordinating with Earth's defense fleet. Within hours, the first human warships were preparing for emergency FTL jumps to Alliance space. Engineering teams worked frantically to modify docking systems to accommodate both species ships. As the day ended, Tom stood at the station's observation deck, watching Alliance ships practice formation flying with the first arrived human vessels. The size difference was striking. The Alliance ships looked like escorts around a human destroyer. "We were wrong," Swiftwing said, standing beside Tom. "We thought being small made us more advanced, more evolved. But the universe is vast, and perhaps it needs beings of all sizes to properly defend it." Tom nodded, watching the joint fleet exercises. "The swarm is about to learn that they're not the biggest kids on the block anymore," he said. "And they're definitely not the most prepared." In the distance, more human ships appeared from FTL, their running lights bright against the darkness of space. Operation Giant's Hand was about to begin. Admiral West stood on the bridge of the Earth battleship Thunder, watching as his fleet moved into position. The massive view screen showed dozens of human warships, their hulls gleaming under distant starlight. Alongside them, hundreds of smaller Alliance vessels darted about like silver fish among whales. "All ships report ready," his communications officer announced. "Alliance vessels are in formation." The past week had been a rush of modifications and joint training. Human ships had been fitted with special docking bays to carry Alliance vessels, turning them into makeshift carriers. The smaller ships could now extend their range by riding along with their larger allies. "The swarm fleet has been detected," reported Swiftwing from the Alliance liaison station. The small officer worked at a custom-built console scaled for their size. "They're attacking the Bright Star colony. 300 ships, mostly combat vessels." West nodded grimly. They're not expecting us. That's our advantage. He opened the fleet-wide channel. All ships, execute Jump Plan Delta. Operation Giant's Hand begins now. The human Alliance fleet jumped into the bright star system in perfect formation. The swarm ships, dark angular vessels that had been terrorizing the smaller Alliance craft, suddenly found themselves facing opponents their own size and larger. They're responding to our arrival, Mark reported from his engineering station. Their formation is breaking up. The battle began with a thunderous exchange of fire. Human weapons, designed for Earth-scale combat, slammed into swarm ships with devastating effect. The enemy's advantage of size, so effective against the Alliance, meant nothing against human vessels. But the true power of the joint fleet came from its combination of scales. While human ships engaged the swarm directly, Alliance vessels darted through the chaos like interceptors. Their superior maneuverability let them slip past enemy shields to strike at vulnerable points. "Look at that," West said proudly as an Alliance squadron used their small size to excellent advantage. They flew through a gap in a swarm ship's defense screen that would have been too small for human vessels, then launched precision strikes at its engines. The battle strategy worked perfectly. Human ships provided the heavy firepower and tough defense, while Alliance vessels handled reconnaissance and precision attacks. The swarm, used to bullying smaller ships, had no defense against this coordinated assault. "Sir," called out the sensor officer, "the enemy fleet is attempting to regroup. They're shifting to a defensive formation." West smiled. "They're learning respect. But it's too late. Signal the Alliance squadrons to execute Pattern Strike 3. What followed was a ballet of different scales in space. Human ships launched heavy attacks, creating gaps in the swarm's defenses. Alliance vessels streaked through these openings, their small size letting them penetrate deep into enemy formations. Their weapons, while individually weak, proved devastating when targeting vulnerable systems exposed by human attacks. "The swarm's breaking," Mark announced excitedly. "Their fleet is splitting up." The enemy formation shattered under the combined assault. Some ships tried to jump away but were caught by waiting Alliance interceptors. Others fought to the end, but against the coordinated human Alliance fleet, they stood no chance. As the last swarm ship fell silent, a cheer went up across both human and Alliance frequencies. Swiftwing's voice carried pride as they reported, "Bright Star Colony is secure. Enemy forces eliminated with minimal losses to our fleet." West looked at his tactical display with satisfaction. The battle proved what both sides had hoped. Humans and Alliance species were stronger together than apart. Their size difference, once seen as a problem, had become their greatest tactical advantage. "Send word to all ships," West ordered. "Well done, everyone." But this was just the first battle. The swarm's about to learn that picking on smaller folk was their biggest mistake, because now the real giants are here to stop them. As damage reports came in and repair crews began their work, West watched human and Alliance ships moving together in perfect coordination. Size, he realized, wasn't about being big or small. It was about finding ways to work together, using every advantage nature had given them. Operation Giant's Hand had succeeded beyond their hopes, and it was just the beginning. 1 month after the Battle of Bright Star, the Alliance's main station buzzed with unprecedented activity. The station had been partially rebuilt to accommodate both species, with corridors now featuring dual-level walkways and rooms with adjustable furniture. Mark stood in the newly constructed Joint Engineering Lab, watching as human and Alliance engineers worked together at workstations built for both sizes. On one screen, they study the remains of a destroyed swarm ship. On another, they design new hybrid technologies. "Your power systems are fascinating," said Brightmind, an Alliance engineer who barely reached Mark's waist. "We never considered building reactors so large. We always focused on making them smaller and more efficient. And we never thought about miniaturization the way you did," Mark replied, examining a tiny Alliance power core. "Combining our approaches is opening up entirely new possibilities. The lab had become a symbol of cooperation. Alliance engineers were learning to think bigger, while humans were learning the value of precision and efficiency. Together, they were creating technologies neither species could have developed alone. In another part of the station, Tom attended a cultural exchange session. The room was filled with both human and Alliance historians, sharing stories of their species' development. The size difference had shaped both cultures in unexpected ways. "We evolved hiding from larger predators," an Alliance historian explained. "It made us cautious, diplomatic. We learned to solve problems by outthinking our opponents. While we evolved as pursuit predators," Tom added, "our size gave us confidence, sometimes too much. We had to learn restraint and cooperation." The exchange wasn't limited to just talking. Alliance members were fascinated by human sports and physical activities. They had set up observation areas in the station's gym, watching in amazement as humans demonstrated their physical capabilities. In return, Alliance members showed humans their virtual reality systems, far more advanced than anything Earth had developed. Their smaller size had led them to excel at creating immersive experiences that didn't require physical space. "Look at this," Swiftwing demonstrated, helping Tom put on a specially modified Alliance VR headset. "We created these systems because we couldn't physically explore as far as you can. But now, combining our VR tech with your range of movement, the results were extraordinary. Human physical capabilities enhanced by Alliance virtual systems created training programs more effective than either species had before. Military simulations, educational programs, and entertainment all took quantum leaps forward. But perhaps the most significant changes were happening in the shipyards. The first joint-designed vessels were taking shape. Huge human-scale ships with intricate Alliance technology integrated throughout. Small Alliance craft could dock inside these larger vessels, creating carrier groups that could operate far more effectively than either species ships alone. "We used to think being small was an evolutionary advantage," first speaker said during a tour of the new shipyard. "It meant using fewer resources, needing less space. But you humans showed us that sometimes being big enough to protect others is its own kind of advantage." The medical bay had become another hub of cooperation. Human doctors marveled at the precision of Alliance surgical techniques, while Alliance medical staff studied how human bodies efficiently managed their larger size. Together, they made breakthroughs in treating both species. As the day ended, Tom stood at his favorite observation window, now modified with both human height and Alliance height viewing platforms. He watched as ships of both sizes moved through space together, their lights twinkling against the darkness. "It's remarkable," said Swiftwing, standing on their raised platform beside him. "A month ago, we worried our size difference would make cooperation impossible. Now it's the very thing making us stronger." Tom nodded. "The universe is vast enough for all sizes," he replied. "And we're learning that true strength comes not from being big or small, but from working together." Outside, a new joint patrol launched, human ships and Alliance vessels moving in perfect formation, protecting their shared space. Different sizes, different histories, but now working as one fleet, teaching the galaxy that diversity wasn't a weakness to overcome, but a strength to embrace. Emergency alerts echoed through the combined human Alliance fleet. Admiral West stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned battleship Unity, a vessel that represented the best of both species' technology. The ship was human-sized but incorporated Alliance precision systems throughout. "Swarm fleet detected," reported Swiftwing from their command station. "It's their largest force yet. Over 1,000 ships approaching from multiple vectors." The tactical display showed the enemy fleet's approach. After months of defeats, the swarm had gathered its remaining forces for one massive assault. They aimed to break the human Alliance defense line and strike at core worlds. "They think numbers will save them," West said grimly. "Let's show them why quality beats quantity. Launch Operation Thunderstrike." The combined fleet moved with practiced precision. Human capital ships formed the backbone of the formation, while Alliance vessels took up their positions in specially designed launch bays. Months of fighting together had perfected their coordination. "All ships report ready," Mark announced from engineering. "New hybrid shields at full power. Alliance targeting systems integrated and operational." West opened the fleet-wide channel. "This is the day we've trained for. Remember, we're not just fighting as humans or Alliance members. We're fighting as one fleet. Execute Battle Plan Delta." The battle began with a stunning display of coordinated warfare. Human ships launched their heavy weapons, creating massive disruptions in space. Through these disruptions, swarms of Alliance vessels shot forward like arrows from a bow, their precise weapons finding weak points in enemy shields. "Look at those attack patterns," Swiftwing exclaimed with pride. The tactical display showed Alliance ships using their small size to evade enemy fire while setting up killing shots for the larger human vessels. The swarm tried to counter with brute force, but they faced an enemy that had learned to use every advantage. When they grouped up to concentrate fire, human ships hammered them with heavy weapons. When they spread out, Alliance vessels picked them apart. "They're trying to break through Sector 7, called out the tactical officer. "Not today," West responded. "Launch Operation Giant's Fist." The Unity's launch bays opened, releasing dozens of Alliance interceptors. At the same time, the human ship's main guns opened up, creating a corridor of destruction. The smaller Alliance ships raced through this corridor, their advanced targeting systems letting them hit multiple enemy vessels with precision strikes. The swarm's formation began to buckle under the assault. Their ships, designed for straightforward combat, had no answer for the complex tactics of the combined fleet. Where once they had relied on their size advantage, now they faced human ships that could match them blow for blow, working in perfect concert with smaller vessels they couldn't effectively target. "Their command ship is exposed," Swiftwing announced. "Alliance Squadron Delta requests permission to engage." West nodded. "All human heavy cruisers, provide covering fire. Let our small friends show why size isn't everything." What followed was a masterpiece of space combat. Human ships pounded the enemy's defenses with massive energy weapons, while Alliance vessels slipped through the chaos. Their small size let them approach the swarm command ship from angles the enemy never thought to defend. "Direct hits on their command and control systems," Mark reported with satisfaction. "Alliance precision weapons have taken out their key nodes." The swarm command ship's lights flickered and died. Without central coordination, their fleet fell into disarray. Some ships tried to flee, others fought on randomly, but the outcome was now certain. "Send the signal," West ordered. "All ships, execute final attack pattern." The combined fleet struck from all directions at once. Human capital ships engaged at medium range, while Alliance vessels darted in close, striking vital systems. The swarm fleet, already disorganized, crumbled under the coordinated assault. As the last enemy ships were neutralized or fled, cheers erupted across both human and Alliance frequencies. The threat that had once seemed unstoppable had been defeated by the very difference in sizes they had tried to exploit. "Send word to both Earth and the Alliance Council," West said proudly. "The swarm is broken. Our differences aren't our weakness. They're our strength." Looking at his tactical display, West watched human and Alliance ships moving together in victory formation. The galaxy was about to enter a new era, one where beings of all sizes would find their place among the stars. 1 year after the final battle with the swarm, the new Joint Council station hung in space like a shining symbol of cooperation. Its unique design incorporated spaces for all sizes, grand halls for humans alongside cozy chambers for Alliance members, connected by innovative multi-level walkways and transport systems. Tom stood at the main observation deck, watching ships of all sizes move through space. Next to him, First Speaker stood on an elevated platform that brought them to eye level, a simple solution that had become standard across joint facilities. "Hard to believe it was just over a year ago that we first met," Tom said, smiling at the memory. "When you thought we were too big to be real." And when you had to kneel just to shake hands, first speaker replied with amusement. Now look at us. We've rebuilt half the galaxy to accommodate everyone. The rebuilding effort had transformed space itself. Shipyards now produced vessels of all sizes, from massive human battleships to nimble Alliance cruisers. Space stations and colonies were designed with multiple scales in mind from the start, creating environments where all species could live and work comfortably together. Mark entered the observation deck, carrying a data tablet. The latest reports from the joint research facilities are in, he announced proudly. Our engineers have made another breakthrough in hybrid technology. The combination of human and Alliance engineering had led to remarkable innovations. Human-scale power systems were now enhanced with Alliance precision technology, while Alliance ships benefited from scaled-down versions of human defensive systems. The Education Exchange Program is also showing amazing results. Swiftwing added, joining them at the window. Young humans are learning Alliance precision techniques, while our youth are understanding how to think on the larger scale you humans naturally grasp. The changes weren't just technological. Cultural exchange had flourished as both species learned to see the universe through each other's eyes. Humans learned the value of precision and efficiency from their smaller allies, while Alliance members adopted some of humanity's boldness and larger-scale thinking. The latest survey teams have found 3 more potential colony worlds, Tom reported, checking his own data screen. Worlds that neither of our species could have settled alone. But together, they had found that planets once considered too dangerous for Alliance colonization could be settled with human help, while worlds too resource-poor for human colonies could be efficiently developed using Alliance techniques. The military had undergone the most dramatic transformation. The new joint fleet operated as a single unit, with ships of all sizes working in perfect coordination. The few remaining swarm raiders learned to fear the sight of human capital ships launching waves of Alliance interceptors. We've had inquiries from 6 more species about joining the Alliance, first speaker said. They're all different sizes, some even smaller than us, some between our sizes. Before, we might have hesitated. But now we know better, Tom finished. The universe needs all sizes. That's what makes us stronger. A group of human and Alliance children passed through the observation deck on a school tour. The sight of them learning together, playing together, despite their size differences, made Tom smile. The next generation would grow up knowing that physical size was just another kind of diversity to celebrate. You know what I've learned, Mark said thoughtfully. Being a giant isn't about physical size. It's about being big enough to reach out to others, to help those who need it, to see beyond our differences. And being small isn't about physical size either, Swiftwing added. It's about being precise, efficient, and understanding that sometimes the smallest actions can have the biggest impacts. Outside the window, a new class of ship passed by. A human-scale vessel with Alliance technology integrated throughout its design, crewed by members of both species working side by side. It represented everything they had achieved together. We're all giants, first speaker said softly, when we stand together. Tom nodded, watching the endless stream of ships moving through space. Humanity had worried about finding its place among the stars, only to discover that being different, being bigger, wasn't a handicap. It was a gift, one that had helped forge a stronger, more diverse galaxy. The universe, they had learned, had room for giants of all sizes.